My 20s were supposed to be the best time of my life. I went on a passion pilgrimage, pursuing the dream of becoming an artist. But after 10 years, the only thing I have to show for is a trail of missed opportunities, regrets, depression, and despair. In my 20s, I believed that in order to become an artist, you need to be born with talent. You need to have that spark of creative genius. You need to have something special. And I believed that because all of the documentaries, the interviews, the articles were talking about exactly those things. Now, the problem with believing those things is that you will go on social media and read some post about Hemingway's productivity trick and realize you can't even spell the word productivity. You will read a post about how Frank Stella loves the process of peeling paper from oil sticks and then realize that you're a complete fraud because you hate cleaning brushes. Or you will read an article of some self-proclaimed made-up journalist talking about how Paris influenced the artists of that time, and then you suddenly feel like you have to move towards a big art city in order to make it as an artist. And so that's exactly what I did. I moved to Berlin in the hope that moving to the city would make all the difference in the world. Of course, it didn't change anything. I didn't make friends, and the few people that came to one show that I had there were definitely not art collectors. And the reason the media promotes these ideas is because people want to believe in simple tricks that can generate success, in a city that can make you successful, or some random concept like loving the process. And I believed these lies because moving to a different city was easier than believing the truth, namely that it would take 20 years of 10-hour days, 7 days 7. And so what do you do when you've left everything behind and moved towards a different city only to get disappointed? Well, I chose to self-sabotage everything. At some point in my 20s, I stepped into a relationship with a terrible person. She was lying about everything. She was having sex with her ex. She was, even worse, having sex with my best friend. At some point, her ex and his friends went as far as to punch me down in the hospital. Needless to say, this was a very dark period in my 20s. And the reason I'm telling you this is because it gives insight in how my brain was procrastinating. Let me explain. The reality is that I could have seen everything. I could have seen the lying. I could have seen the having sex with my best friend or the talking trash behind my back or any of that. But the procrastinator inside of me chose to unsee those things. The truth is that deep inside, I knew that my art career was failing and I needed something to put the blame on. I needed an excuse. And this type of relationship gave me exactly that. Instead of saying, well, my art career is failing, I'm depressed and so I didn't do a lot of work this week, I now could say, well, this girl cheated on me with my best friend, so I didn't do a lot of work this week. And the second one is way more accepted by society than the first one. In my 20s, I believed that love makes you blind. In my 30s, however, I realized that oftentimes it's procrastination that makes you blind. Because procrastination knows that if you have a terrible relationship like that and a lot of drama, that nobody is gonna get a damn thing done. And that's exactly what procrastination wants. Professionals who are chasing their dreams at higher levels than I was, and they don't let drama come in between and they cut those things out before it happens. Now the question we should ask ourselves is, why was I self-sabotaging my success? Why was I stepping into these horrible situations that formed the perfect excuse? In my 20s, I would listen to interviews of successful people who somehow became successful at the age of 27, who were all child prodigies that showed talent at a very early age. And this is one of the oldest tricks in the books, a trick that procrastination pulls on all amateur artists. Procrastination will give you the most unrealistic timetable, like becoming famous at the age of 25, because it knows that 99% of artists will dramatically fail, and that will lead towards a feeling of frustration that is so painful that they will not try and do anything else anymore for the rest of their lives. And that is exactly what procrastination wants. The idea of a dream job or a dream career is a scam created by a desire to procrastinate and quit. In my 20s, I was a sucker for procrastination. It tricked me in every possible way. It felt like there was some kind of countdown going on, that by the time I was 30, I needed to be famous, otherwise I would be a failure. And with this countdown in the back of my head, I would go on social media to reply to a friend or something, and immediately I would get bombarded with some 18-year-old that gets thousands of likes on average at best art, and it would make me feel terrible. It would deprive me of all types of motivation necessary to do the work. In Art and Fear, I read a beautiful quote that sums this up perfectly. Most artists don't dream about making great art. They dream about having made great art. They come up with delusional ideas about fame, and the problem with this is that it results in frustration every single time. Quote, "The artist's life is frustrating not because the passage is slow, but because he imagines it to be fast. And when you become frustrated for a couple of years straight, it becomes extremely easy to start self-sabotaging your success." Now, in all of this, there was one element that made everything worse. Something that makes chasing your passions harder than it has ever been before. Namely, social media. I would go on social media because I needed to do research, I needed to learn, I needed to figure out how to become successful myself. And then when I went on social media, I stumbled upon a post of some artist that happened to be exactly my age, that happened to have a nice solo exhibition. And immediately I would feel extremely jealous about that. Now keep in mind that I don't even believe in solo exhibitions. I think they're a waste of time for beginner artists and absolutely not a strategy for success. But even with those thoughts, I was still feeling jealous about something I didn't even want it in the first place. In short, I was comparing my inner world with somebody else's highlight reel on Instagram, and it made me feel terrible. And so the question I asked myself is, did I wasted my 20s, or did social media make me feel like I was wasting my 20s? Now, I obviously don't have the answer to that, but I do know that we've never lived in a world where everybody is showcasing the best side of themselves 24/7, and I don't think we know what the ramifications of that will be for society, and the results of this big social experiment simply still have to reveal themselves. But what I do know is that every single 20-something that is listening to this video can use some powerful words of wisdom. I'll leave that up to somebody else though. Will Durant, for example, who said, "The tragedy of life is that it gives us wisdom only when it has stolen youth." I have another video called "I'm 29 years old and wasted my 20s" where we dive deeper into this concept. I'll link it in the description and in the end screen. That said, get the hell out of here.